Hey, so what's good, YouTube? Welcome to the channel, your girl Natasha Nisha. So, on today's installment to the channel, I'll just be unpacking how do we remain a man, a woman after God's own heart while we're still in the world, in the world, but not of the world, fair enough. But also, we are still waiting on God's promise. And at the same while, we're going after our own personal goals, our own personal dreams, whether it's onto attaining financial freedom or whether it's onto attaining that kingdom marriage. And so I am doing this one with a heavy heart today. I'm fairly burdened, firstly for myself, and this is a cautionary tale to us chosen ones, and just a reminder that obedience is better than sacrifice always. So I find it's so easy to get complacent, and start to take our faith for granted as chosen ones and start to see God as just another. He is not just some Lord or some king. Scripture tells us He is the King of kings and the Lord of lords of them all, and yeah. So I find that many times we can start getting sloppy in our faith, and pride can even creep in unaware many times, and this can have us now breaking His commands, ignoring His word, and even start to do things, go after these goals and these dreams in our own strength, um in our own with our own hand. We taking the law basically into our own hands, and this all while we waiting for His promise to fulfill. Many times there may be a delay, and so I just want to unpack in the story of 1 Samuel 13. There was a similar situation here. So this was around that time in Israel, whereby Samuel was a prophet, but those days he was known as a seer. And around this time also, the people of Israel were actually demanding of Samuel and demanding of the Lord for a king. They wanted to be just like the other nations. So by them doing this, actually, they were rejecting the Lord as their king, because we know that the people of Israel were God's chosen people, His own personal chosen people, and He was their king. Either ways, so God goes on to grant this request, and God chooses a a handsome young boy by the name of Saul. So we find that Saul was the first king of the people of Israel. And the scripture goes on to tell us that Saul was from the tribe of Benjamin. So this was one of the, it's said to be the most humblest tribe of Israel, but it was also known to be like one of the more lower, the lowly tribes, and I think also weaker tribes of Israel. So this young man, handsome young man, Saul, son of Kish, is whom the Lord chooses. And the scripture goes on to tell us that he was a handsome young man, and it was not among the people of Israel a man more handsome than he, Saul. And it goes on to say, from his shoulders upward, he was taller than any of the people. So this tells of his allure and his stature just above everyone. Either ways, so the Lord chooses Saul. And then like there was these procedures. Fair enough, Saul was chosen, and then God had the prophet Samuel now anoint Saul. So this was just with the two of them, whereby the prophet Samuel pours a flask of oil over Saul's head and kisses him and tells him that, like, you have the favor of the Lord. You are the chosen one, to be prince over the God's own people, the people of Israel, basically. And then later on, we find, if you read the story, that he is now proclaimed to be king, and this is done before all the people and before the Lord at Mizpah, with the prophet Samuel there again. So now Saul was anointed, but then the prophet Samuel started to prophesy and tell him of things that were yet to be, things that were yet to occur, and that he told him that, so from when you depart from me today, these things will occur, and these were signs he told him that he should look out for. And so as he tells him of the certain signs that will occur, later on he tells him, after a certain sign occurs, you are then to come to me, come down before me at Gilgal, and behold, there I will come down to meet you there, and I will offer burnt offerings and to sacrifice also peace offerings. So the prophet Samuel tells him, 7 days you should wait there for me until I come to you, and then from there on I will show you what to do next. So later there's a story we find also in scripture whereby Samuel is now king. So Samuel goes on to choose 300 men for himself, and he has 100 men who will stay at Gibeah there with Jonathan, and then he has 2,000 men with him in Mishmash, and he sent the rest of the men home to their tents. The rest of the men could return home. And the scripture goes on to tell us that in Gibeah there was a garrison of Philistines there, and Jonathan with 1,000 men defeated this garrison of Philistines. And so King Saul blows a trumpet throughout the land, in celebration of this victory from the Lord over the Philistines, one of their enemies. And so this was before, but then later on, he needs now to go and await the prophet Samuel at Gilgal. So he goes down there with his men, and we find that while he's there in Gilgal, the Philistines, in retaliation now, they muster all their men to fight Israel, and they come with 30,000 chariots, the scripture tells us, 6,000 horsemen and troops. And the scripture goes on to describe these troops. They were like sand on the seashore in multitude. So remember, this is now outnumbering basically the 3,000 men that Saul chose. They have 30,000 chariots, 6,000 horsemen, and then troops that just like as a number of sands on the seashore, basically. And these a mess of Philistines now go out and camp at Mishmash. And you can imagine the people had now become afraid, and they were hiding and what have you. And this is all while Saul is still in Gilgal awaiting the prophet Samuel. And we find that even there in Gilgal, the men that were with Saul were also now scattering from him out of fear. So as a result of this, Saul went on and he offers the burnt offering. And this was, unlawful. It was an unlawful sacrifice. The scripture calls it an unlawful sacrifice. It was the prophet Samuel who should have been the one to offer the sacrifice. And just as he's done offering the burnt offering, behold, there comes Samuel. And I'm just going to read some of that in 1 Samuel 13 and verses 8 quickly. So it says there, he waited 7 days, the time appointed by Samuel, but Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and the people were scattering from him. So Saul said, bring the burnt offering here to me and the peace offering. And he offered the burnt offering. As soon as he had finished offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came. And Saul went out to meet him and greet him. Samuel said, what have you done? And Saul, oh my goodness, what have you done? And Saul said, when I saw that the people were scattering from me, when I saw that the people were scattering from me, and that you did not come within the days appointed, and the Philistines had mustered at Mishmash, I said, now the Philistines will come down against me at Gilgal, and I have not sought the favor of the Lord. So I forced myself and offered the burnt offering. And Samuel said to Saul, you have done foolishly. You have not kept the commands of the Lord your God, with which he commanded you. For then the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever. But now your kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart, and the Lord has commanded him to be prince over his people, because you have not kept what the Lord commanded you. So this one is, as I said, it burdens my heart to know like the situation that Saul found himself, the first king. And it goes on to say that, like he offered an unlawful sacrifice, and there were consequences to that. And many times we are waiting on the Lord, promises to still fulfill. Was that a fly? We're still waiting on promises to fulfill. And so what are the things that we are sacrificing as we, a chosen people, are going after our goals and dreams, and as we're still waiting on the Lord to fulfill what he has promised us, So this is a stern word to us, just to know that, it's so important to keep the commandments of God. Obedience is better than sacrifice, and no one is above reproach. We find in the story, we can still fall and still falter despite having been chosen, anointed, and even proclaimed, whatever title we may have in life, in the kingdom, But if we are disobedient to God, we can still falter and lose it all. So for me personally, I'm at this place also, where I'm going after my goals to financial freedom as well. And I'm at this place of growth. So with growth comes change. One needs to constantly be changing and evolving. And what are the things that we are choosing to sacrifice along the way to change, Fair enough, there are some behaviors that we need to leave behind. There are some habits, bad habits that we need to leave behind and upgrade to better habits that are working for us. But so let it not be us, sacrificing our faith ever and our obedience for the things of the world, or for our goals, so basically I find what sticks out for me personally so much more is that there's this thing of that I want to walk out and lead in faith, lead my life in faith, but I need to do it in a new way, a smarter way, a wiser way as well. And I'm discovering that it's important that, as we grow, we need to grow deeper in our faith and not just horizontally. It shouldn't be a faith that we lead with, that is this big vapor that comes before us, that oftentimes can actually stink and be offensive to other people. Our faith actually needs to be this deeper, foundational faith that, and that's where we need to lead from that place where we are. It's so deep, it's foundational, it's who we are, and that's where we lead from. And yeah, it's not, it has substance because it's deeper. It's not this airy fairy vapor faith that can start stinking and offending people that we're leading with in front of us. This horizontal, it needs to be a deeper faith, is what I've come to learn. So, like, let us not get caught slipping out here, as a chosen one. It's so easy, like we see in the story, of no fault of his own, the prophet was delayed, and Samuel took the law into his own hands and made sacrifices. So what things are we, or what situations are we taking in our own hands and making sacrifices? So yeah, let us not get distracted from the main thing. Let Christ always remain the main thing, and let us not sacrifice the main thing for these other goals while we, like, you're waiting on God and going after the things we want in this world. So yeah, that's all for this one. I hope it can bless you. And yeah, you're going to Natasha Nisha, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.